So there's been a lot of talk lately about Russia. The CIA is claiming that they hacked the election, and the Democrats have subsequently lost their fucking minds over this. So let's watch White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest talk about this. And listen to what he says at the end here, because it is amazing. But also I want to come back and give you the total substantive breakdown of this whole issue with Russia.
Gardner, this is an assessment that was put forward by the intelligence community. And the intelligence community put forward this statement as soon as they were able to confirm a couple of things. First, they had to confirm across 17 different government agencies that they had high confidence that this is exactly what had transpired. Now, I recognize that there was this independent private analysis that had been put forward, but the standards of the intelligence community, for good reason, are very high. The second, the intelligence community wanted to be as specific as possible in putting forward that assessment, so that people could have confidence in the facts. In order to be specific, the intelligence community also had to ensure they would not be revealing the kinds of sources and methods that give them the insight that they need to conduct these investigations. So there was a determined effort to both be as specific as possible while also protecting the sources and methods that are used by the intelligence community to conduct these investigations. I think all in all, Gardner, this was a statement that was put out a month before the election. So I would acknowledge that there were reports of hacks and leaks before that. But what also existed before that were private assessments about how that material was obtained. And there's no denying that those materials were stolen property. The suggestion, there was no denial on the part of the U.S. government somehow the DNC had not been hacked. So even as news organizations were reporting on this information, they were reporting on information that they know had been stolen and leaked. Those are editorial decisions that are made by independent news organizations. But even the excellent report that was included in your newspaper today about this incident makes clear that news organizations in the United States essentially became the arms of Russian intelligence.
Newspapers in the United States essentially became arms of Russian intelligence. What a joke. So you know what he's talking about, right? WikiLeaks. So let's rewind and then we'll come back to that. So they're saying, and partisan, loyalist, Democratic hacks, the Hillary Clinton wing of the party, they're saying, oh, that's it. It's proven. It's over. It's over. So the CIA says, based on anonymous sources with zero evidence that Russia hacked the election. That's it. It's over. So what the Democrats are doing here is they're going down the rabbit hole of their own Benghazi. That's what they're doing. CIA. The CIA says with no evidence whatsoever, and anonymous sources, Russia is behind the hacking of the election, and Vladimir Putin was directly involved. That's what they said last night. Again, who are their sources? Anonymous. How much evidence did they present? Zero. So the Hillary Clinton wing of the party, that's it. Okay, so we need a new election, or we need the Electoral College to nullify the results. And guys, I mean, come on, this is as serious as it gets. Keith Olbermann, who's just gone full hack in recent years, did a segment saying that Russia has declared war on the United States and that we need to respond. This is the most serious. So understand, the CIA, they organize death squads. Like, that's what they do. They organize death squads. They overthrow governments that we don't like. They prop up dictators. They're a criminal agency through and through. They're also most known, they've most recently been in the news for what? Torturing people. And we know from the report, the Senate report on that at least 20% of the people were totally innocent. They killed people by doing hypothermia torture. They did loud music torture. They did sleep deprivation. They did anal rape. And now the Democratic partisans are going, what do you mean? The CIA said it was totally trustworthy. So let me get this straight. You guys just recently were lampooning, going after the FBI. So questioning the FBI, patriotic. Questioning the CIA, treasonous. That's how these guys are thinking. They're so far up their own ass that they've lost their goddamn way. They've become total hacks. Now, okay, so there's no evidence. Now, you're supposed to, like with the Iraq War, what was the lesson of that? Hey, don't trust what the government says if they use anonymous sources and they present no evidence. Well, that's exactly what they're doing here with the CIA, who's already the least trustworthy aspect of our government. But again, Democrats are like, oh, the lesson of the Iraq War? I don't care. This is a partisan thing that I like to hear, so I'm going to run with it. Now, furthermore, they're also using the phrase, Russia hacked the election. They hacked the election. What comes to your mind when you hear that? What comes to your mind? Oh my God, they got into the voting machines. Oh my God, they changed the result to Trump. Trump wasn't going to win. They changed the result to Trump. They got involved on election day. They hacked the election. That's what you think of, right? Every media organization uncritically parroting that phrase, hacked the election. Guess what? You read the articles on it, they're not making that claim. They're using the phrase hacked the election to imply they hacked the election and gave votes over to Trump and Trump won. No. They're only referring to WikiLeaks. They're only saying the Russian government hacked the DNC. They also claim they hacked the RNC but didn't give the information. Again, I think they're making up most of this shit. But, they hacked the DNC and then they gave the information to WikiLeaks and then WikiLeaks ran it. So that's the boogeyman. They're, ooh! Okay, first of all, your security should be good enough so that no government can hack you. And it's bad if governments hack you. But should that information have been released? Fuck yeah, it should have been released. There was important information that the American people have a right to know in those emails. It's the same goddamn thing. You should have the same transparency laws for campaigns and the DNC and the RNC as you do for the government. So if you're in the government, everything you're doing is logged and eventually it's going to be declassified. So unless it's super duper top secret information, of course, and classified information, that's a different story. But if it's your emails and you're working in the government, of course, because the American people are paying your salary. So, we have a right to know transparency in government. Why should it be any different for the DNC? Why should it be any different for the RNC? This is a wing of what happens in our government. This is an aspect of what happens in our government. So, of course, we should know that stuff. So we have the transparency that we should have had in the first place. WikiLeaks runs it. And now they're making the argument. You just heard Josh Earnest make the argument right there. He said, oh, you reported on this? Oh, you took the WikiLeaks, which had very relevant, credible information in there. You took that and you ran stories about it? Well, you're a Kremlin puppet. You're a Putin puppet. You're working on behalf of Russia. No, it's a fucking sick, disgusting, Republican-like trick. That's what that is. It's a way to shut down the debate because you have no good answers. So when they say, hey, what's up with this email where Hillary Clinton said in a private speech, I have a public position and a private position, that seems like it questions her integrity and her honesty. Oh, you're reporting on that? You must love Vladimir Putin. You must be an agent of the Russian government. You're an agent of Russian intelligence, aren't you? I guess you're a traitor. I guess you're treasonous. I guess that's what it is, because you're reporting on it. No, that's newsworthy information, and it should have been released. Okay, this is out of control, man. The Democrats are the underdog for fucking 2020, even with Donald Trump appointing Goldman Sachs to the head of fucking everything and being as deeply corrupt as you could be. Because this is a party that is they're out of everything. The establishment Democrats can't win anymore. It's all tricks. It's all smoke and mirrors now. Oh, really? Oh, you like the Republicans and you like Donald Trump? I guess you like Russia. I guess you love Vladimir Putin. An enemy has, hacked in and destroyed our entire democracy. That's what happened. Or you guys suck. You don't have a convincing, solid message to get people on your side. You don't actually care about the people anymore. So a reality star buffoon was able to defeat you. And you can't own up to it. You can't look in the mirror, so you blame everybody. Blame Bernie Sanders, blame Jill Stein, blame Gary Johnson, blame the FBI, blame James Comey, blame the voters themselves. The list goes on of fake news. Everything you blamed except Hillary Clinton and yourself, Democratic Party. And now look at what they're doing. They're doing old school red baiting. So understand, they're using the term hacked the election. Russia hacked the election. They're not even talking about, hey, voting machines. There's no evidence of that. I don't even think they're claiming that that's what they do. They're just saying, oh, they hacked the DNC and gave the information to WikiLeaks, and then WikiLeaks ran it. Good. So let me be clear. It's bad if any foreign government or anything can get hacked. It shouldn't get hacked. But that's on you to up your goddamn security. That's on you to get your shit together, because obviously adversarial governments are going to try to hack. But the more important point is that information was newsworthy and it should have been released. All the information from the RNC, the DNC, all that stuff, it should be released. The candidates who are running, it should be released. And we learned that they were fucking tipping the scales against Bernie Sanders on purpose. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Donna Brazile, these are people who, tried to bury debates. Debbie Wasserman Schultz tried to bury the debates to not give Bernie Sanders a shot. She got in contact with MSNBC when they were too tough on Hillary Clinton and her. And they said, I think you guys need to cut this out, don't you? But that's the story. These are the real stories that we should be talking about. How deeply corrupt. They changed the voting times in certain states in pro-Bernie districts. This is what the real story is. This is what we should be talking about, but we're not talking about it. We're not talking about it because now they've shifted the conversation. They're deflecting and obfuscating, and they're blaming Russia. Russia. Oh, you want to have a serious conversation about how Hillary Clinton is pro-outsourcing, and it was revealed in the emails? Russia. You want to have a conversation about her Goldman Sachs speech? Russia. You want to have a conversation about how she wants public and private positions to be different? Russia. So you have no answers. You have no answers for your disgusting rigging of the election behind the scenes. You have no answer for how grotesquely inadequate you are as Democrats because you don't care about the people. So now it's just deflect, obfuscate, rationalize, blame everybody else but ourselves, and now you're even willing to risk escalating rhetoric to World War fucking III over it. And as a final point, let's assume for a second that Russia not only hacked for WikiLeaks and gave them the information which was relevant that WikiLeaks ran. Let's assume for a second they did hack the voting machines. Again, not true, no evidence of it, didn't fucking happen. But let's assume they hacked the voting machines and made it so that Trump won. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Think about it. Seriously, why would they do that? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because Hillary Clinton said, I want to get involved in Syria. I want to do a no-fly zone and a safe zone in Syria, which makes it so that if Russian or Syrian planes fly into that airspace, we shoot them down, which escalates to World War III, which is everybody's worst nightmare in an apocalyptic scenario. So even if they did that horrific thing, which they didn't do, the rationale behind it would be, hey, maybe we avoid World War III by getting Donald Trump in there instead of Hillary Clinton. Because on Syria and Russia, that's an area where Donald Trump was actually unquestionably better than Hillary, at least in his rhetoric. We'll see what actually happens, because now he's got John Bolton as his number 2 at the State Department, and John Bolton might say, yeah, no, fuck that. We're going right into anti-Russia fear-mongering now, and we're going to escalate in Syria, and we're going to, push further down that road of war. So maybe he goes back on everything he said. But certainly on the campaign trail, he said, look, I don't want to get involved in Syria. I'm fine with staying out of Syria. Hillary Clinton said, no fly zone and safe zone. And if we got to shoot down Syrian planes and Russian planes, it is what it is, and that's World War III. Well, maybe that would be why they wanted to get involved and do something like rig the election. But again, they didn't do it. And again, to be clear, it's never okay to rig anybody's election, ever, okay? But that would be the rationale if it happened, which it didn't. So there's so much gross fear-mongering that's going on over this, and I've really lost so much respect for so many people who I thought were, politically astute and reasonable people. If you're at the point where, if you're talking about Russia nonstop, Russia, Russia. If you're talking about that nonstop, you know what you're not talking about? getting affordable health care for people, getting a single-payer universal health care system, Medicare for all. You're not talking about raising the minimum wage. You're not talking about getting free college and eliminating student debt. You're not talking about re-regulating Wall Street. You're not talking about doing an infrastructure bill. You're not talking about stopping wars overseas. You're totally sidetracked by a bullshit issue led by the establishment Democrats off a goddamn cliff. So get your head out of your ass and stop with this nonsense fear-mongering, because even the worst claim they're making is that Russia, maybe with zero evidence and anonymous sources, maybe they're the ones who gave the information to WikiLeaks, who ran with the information we should have known anyway. Ooh, how fucking evil they are. To steal a phrase, wrong.